Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and today we need to talk about something small. Something small and something that I cannot stop printing over the last few days, and that is none other than Raging Heroes' new line of dwarves. Now, I'm not one to usually toot the horn for specific companies, I'm more about individual models usually. But every now and then there's releases that just really grab me. And this release is one of those. So when I saw these ladies, these berserker type female ladies with very, very confrontational like hair. Now, I loved the dwarves from Confrontation. Fun fact, I'm not usually a really big dwarf fan, but I painted everything I owned of the old confrontation dwarves. Specifically, not the Mid Norse stuff, but I don't forget what the name of the steampunk guys were, with the thermo priests and everything, the dudes on the mechanical boars and things like that. Anyways, they're dudes like berserker types had very similar get-ups with their mohawks. And yeah, I know I need to clean it up a little bit in there still. But when I saw these, and more importantly, when I saw everybody else that was in the release, like I said, the last time I really got wowed by something like that was with their Samurai release, which I am still clamoring for a follow-up to. These were absolutely gorgeous models, and if I can make my poor painting skills really have these guys pop and shine, there's no telling what the more talented people in our community of artists and painters and, hobby guys. Why is the knight here? These guys are a pretty cool release too. But let's stop talking about everything else. Let's actually focus on the new stuff. So, yeah, we have some nice little berserker ladies. They have axes on fire, if you want to go that route, obviously, to coincide with other tabletop games. And I think from a skirmish standpoint or an RPG standpoint, this stuff is great. Do you have everything you need to fulfill an entire army's worth for stuff like Ninth Age or Kings of War? Probably not, unless you want to do a lot of duplicate figures. But, you've got at least all the HQ stuff, all the champions, all the heroes, and the fancy stuff that you need. One of the nice things about how Raging Heroes has kind of rebranded their focus from when it first started on Patreon is that a lot of the character models, for lack of a better term, also are supplemented by a lot of troops, and this is one of the troop choices. So you have guys with guns and axes, and then big clunky steampunky backpacks. Now, one of the nice things was all of these backpacks are optional. They are all single piece, but you don't have to print them necessarily with those backpacks included. So you had more of the skirmisher types. You have the longer range guys, like Iron Drake style. And again, you don't have to print them with these backpacks. It is an option. And then you get into the more fancy looking, I don't know, almost like typical trademark Raging Heroes type figures. Again, with the option of having those backpacks or not. That's entirely up to you. You can see he's got like the power cords connecting his mace. There's like scabbards and stuff underneath all that. There's a lot going on. They're nowhere near as crazy dynamic as some of the early sculpts. I think their Thieves Guild is still one of the wildest in terms of just poses that they've got everybody in. Also, keeping in mind, with all the things I'm going to show you, I'm not even close to finishing printing everything. And again, another of the Berserker ladies. I liked this model. I thought she was kind of cool. It's like Yville Greasepaw or something like that, but she's got these big ol' steampunk gauntlet thingies that I still need to clean up a little bit. Again, that's one of the beauties of having everything on camera so close, so zoomed in, obviously prior to any kind of cleanup really. She's got like a cigar in her hand there, but anyway, she's got like this big ol' steam powered, I don't know what they are, pile driver gauntlets, for lack of a better word, hooked up to an exoskeleton frame while she's smoking a cigar. I thought the female dwarves in this set were really cool. A steampunk girl I like this one for the fact that I was trying to print one of the steampunk ladies from the actual steampunk release a while back. I've been doing Raging Heroes Patreon, I think, since almost the get-go. I may not post everything all that often. If you guys would like to see more, by all means, let me know. But I thought this was a cool little model. And again, you know, you could probably get away with using it as some sort of a fantasy engineer type, alchemist, what have you. Or you can go full steampunk, sci-fi. It really is up to you. Here we have a lady with a full exoskeleton. Fun stuff, you know, right in time with all the squats coming out, making their return. And as we get into some of the more fancy ones, one of the heroic women with full-on battle armor and giant power gauntlets. And then the queen herself. I like the fact that we had actually quite a few properly dressed female dwarves with no beards. I'm not a fan of bearded dwarf ladies, but I know some of you out there are. My only real disappointment with this release, and that's just for me being nitpicky, is the fact that nobody really has any kind of helmet. I like, you know, for the grunt types especially, to have some kind of helmet so that if I need to have duplicates and I really want to run an entire army of this stuff, I don't have to have everybody looking exactly the same. So, you know, at least the fact that we can have, and again, almost all of these figures so far have options for with or without those big old steam backpacks. I know there were some of the other heroes. Was it this guy? No. The flying ones. I mean, you talked to there's a whole slew of flying guys. We've got like the king, and again, I need to clean off those supports. But he's got the gun on there. Little exoskeleton frame. A lot of fun details there. If I'd done a better job of cleaning it, that's always the case. And what was interesting is this guy is actually available on foot too, as he's kind of perched atop a mountain, guiding his little dwarf buddies into the fray. And then this is one of the few times, some of these guys have huge bases too, one of the very few times I wanted to actually print out some of the bigger things. For whatever reason, now, Raging Heroes often on their Patreon has all sorts of big monsters and, you know, centerpiece type models, and for whatever reason I always have a tough time getting the pieces to fit together. But they had these giant robotic golem ram things. The body's actually two pieces, just cut down the center like so, and then here you can see its face. I've got a lot of metallic stuff right now that needs painting, so I'm figuring maybe I need to go get me some rattle can gunmetal primer or something. Woo, there goes the head. That's okay. Sometimes it likes to stick, and sometimes it does not. But to complete the look, we've got our Dwarven Oracle lady, who is going to go right up here, I believe. Obviously with the head in place. And then there's a couple of boats, gunships, obviously flying ones. There's like a full-on frigate type thing. Good luck getting that printed. There's all kinds of scenery. All sorts of nice decorative bases. But, you know, why don't we do the important thing here? Let's take a look at how everybody stacks up. I'm always looking for excuses to show off some of this stuff. Now, most of these models tend to be a bit wide, so I think you're going to have a hard time squeezing them in on like a 20 millimeter base. I'd say start 25 and go up from there. Now again, sadly, our poor diminutive Oathmark friends are a little bit on the shorter side. I was looking for some of my Mantic ones. I don't know where I put them, but check this out. I think with the GW stuff, if you wanted to go that route with the more modern day Fire Slayers or some of the later day plastics before the end times, I think that would fit in great in terms of size. Obviously, some of the more heroic models are definitely going to take up a lot more volume and space. But even then, I think they'll work out pretty well. I think when you start getting into the realm of other 3D printable models and resin casts, that's when things are going to get kind of wild and fluctuating. So at least in terms of, like I said, GW stuff, they'll fit in pretty nicely. They have nowhere near the size and weight of the Dweghelm, for example, from Conquest. And just out of curiosity, how do they stack up to some of the other Raging Heroes models? One of the few normal-sized Raging Heroes humans I've got laying around. I'm just going to knock everybody over now. Cool. So yeah, I really wanted to get this filmed and show these off to you guys. If you haven't seen them and you like Dwarves, do take a look, especially if you like that nice blend of both fantasy, steampunk, sci-fi. I think these figures can fit in a variety of settings, which I think is really cool. You have a lot of fun options. And again, I didn't even print all of the heroes yet. There's quite a few that I have not gotten around to. So the fact that I haven't done that yet, there's a lot more coming. And, you know, this is just the first set. So who knows? Maybe we'll see some further models in another batch somewhere down the line. I would not be averse to such a thing. I do love this mix of both, like I said, fantasy and steampunk. I would really like to see, for at least the basic guys, some options for helmets. One of the things Raging Heroes has not done for their Patreon stuff is any sort of modular figure. And so, you know, if we have to get an option, even if it's just going through Heroes Infinite, their website that runs like Patreon, to get a hold of the models, like, for example, if you wanted the King here, if you want him on the mountaintop, I think that was an exclusive on their website. If you wanted to have the Queen like I do here without the crown, she's supposed to be wearing a crown, that was through their website as well. And I keep thinking that lock of her hair is actually a support and I want to cut it off, but no, that is definitely supposed to be there. So a really fun release. Like I said, I will put a link down below if you guys want to take a look yourselves. Definitely some fun stuff there. And as always, you know, with this later time of the year around the holidays, there's always good deals to be had. So do keep your eyes peeled. Maybe you'll be able to score some there. So with that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.